Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. So because it's been quite a while since my last proper makeup video, I thought I would try to do a kind of a highlight roundup type thing for you today. So although I said previously that I hadn't been doing much sewing, me not doing much sewing still kind of churns out a couple of garments a month minimum, if not more still. Me sewing slowly just means that I'm not making like 2 things all week basically. So I won't get through everything that I've made, but I will go through all the highlights and all my favorite things, and hopefully you will be able to kind of see all of those in motion, see what they look like on, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first thing that I'm going to share with you is what I'm wearing right now. So this is a zero waist gather dress with the pattern by Birgitta Helmersson. So she specializes in doing these zero waist patterns, and they are, you know, just what they say on the tin. You are given instructions and a cutting plan on how to cut your 2.5 meters of fabric into making this, eliminating waste, all the little cut-offs, everything goes back into the dress itself. She has a couple of different designs, but I went for the gather dress because I love this style still, this kind of oversized smock moo style dress really just still speaks to me. Who knows how long that's going to last for? I might look back on this in a couple of years time and be like, oh my god, what are you doing? But for now I'm going to enjoy it. So as I said, you were given instructions on how to kind of cut this, so you can do all of this without actually printing off a pattern if you don't want to. She does actually have a PDF with the pattern to print out if you wanted to do that, but obviously if you are genuinely trying to eliminate waste as much as possible, you don't have to, okay? So I had to do a few little alterations to the pattern itself because I was a bit short on fabric. I had just over 2 meters of fabric, and that was just over 1.4 meters wide. The instructions asked for 2.6 meters. Now, I know that I'm short. I generally will shorten most patterns by quite a lot. For a long dress, I might be shortening that 10, 15 plus centimeters. So I kind of figured if I kind of snip a bit off here and there, I might be able to save enough space in order to kind of eke this out of the fabric that I had. And I did manage to. I'm quite pleasantly surprised. I did have to take some artistic license in terms of my layout, but the general concept and shape is the same. And I will kind of go through what I did with you. Just a note about the fabric that I used here. So this is a fabric that I was gifted as part of the New Craft House brand ambassador program. So I was given the fabric for free to make a project of my own choosing. I was only obliged to take photos of it for their kind of social media stuff. All the reviews and all of that about the fabric, about the pattern, the opinion and all of that is all my own. So in terms of the changes that I made here, I kept the bodice itself the same length, but I shortened the sleeve by like 5 centimeters. I shortened the skirt quite a lot. In the end, I decided to cut out the bodice, cut out the sleeve pockets first, and then use essentially what was left over to make the skirt. So I still managed to make a skirt that was about, or just under 70 centimeters long, which for me is still a midi length or just below the knee. Obviously this is not going to work if you're tall and you still want a long dress. You are unfortunately going to have more fabric, but if you are 5'2" or under like me, you might be able to do what I did. So as I said, I took off 5 centimeters where the sleeve is. For the button band, this is where it gets a little tricky, okay? So the button band is made out of 2 parts in the original design, which is sewn together at the center back neck and then goes down the full length of the dress. I knew that with the fabric that I had, that was going to be hard to do. I was either going to end up with something short or something that was too long, because it relied on the fact that the skirt would then have a 9 centimeter hem to compensate for this part of the back neck. So they were assuming that the button band would be the length of your front bodice, length of the skirt, and then they would take up the excess that the back neck takes up with that deep hem, which I got rid of because I needed the length. So what I ended up doing was taking the button band. It's hard to explain this if you don't have the pattern. I made the button band with one really long piece and one really short piece, which I stitched together, and then I kept the button band very slightly short of what the full length of the front there, and kept it as a design feature. This worked for me, both in terms of styling and in terms of making the most of the fabric that I had, because it allowed me to have more width for the gathered bits. It gave me a decent length, and it gave me a bit more interesting, gave me an interesting feature on the front where the short button band is. I'm gonna stand up and I'll show you what I mean by all of that. So that was all probably a bit of a ramble if you have not seen the pattern before or seen the instructions before. If you have, it would make a lot more sense. The whole pattern is made out of kind of squares, rectangles, long strips essentially that come up like this. So it is like a giant square with a big gathered section along the middle. And the neck is cut with a slight angle here, and the button band is cut straight. So it does kind of have this lift coming up to the neck here, which I kind of like. It's kind of getting this kind of stand collar appearance kind of thing. And it hangs surprisingly well. The bit about the button band being short is what's happened here. So on the underside of the button band, I have a seam about, oh my god, I can't even find it. It blends in so well. This will not work if you have a print, by the way. I have a seam about here. Okay, so I've used the length of both skirt pieces for this button band and of the bodice, plus an extra strip off the bodice for this part here. That does not get me the full length of the dress, however, so what I have done is created a kind of like little indent thing here. So I have finished the edge of the button band itself and sewn that against the side, and then used the cutout from the V-neck here to face the corner edge like so. Hopefully you can see that. Which I thought was a very neat finish. The original design asked you to put that little triangle of fabric into the side seam where it really does nothing. It's there as a, this is a way to use your fabric, but it essentially makes no difference to the pattern. It doesn't add anything to it, it doesn't add anything to the finish in my opinion. So what I've done here actually, in my opinion, works out a little bit better in terms of functionality. Personal opinion, of course. I'm going to give you a spin and show you what this looks like. Obviously it's a big dress, it's a very square dress without much shaping, so it relies very heavily on what your body is like, and that will really affect how it drapes on you. So, and obviously not just your body, but the fabric itself. So this is quite a drapey linen. You can see kind of how soft and flowy it is. But it still has a reasonable amount of body, so it comes out and gives you kind of a decent kind of puff there. If I'd made this in a drapier fabric, viscose for example, something like that, this would all hang that little bit closer to the body, and a little bit flatter down here. And similarly, if I'd done it in a thicker fabric, a stiffer cotton, a stiffer linen, a heavier linen for example, I would probably have found that that stands out a bit more as well. So your fabric choice will really change how this will finally look, but that is the case with a lot of things, I guess. I really like this. I'm not sure how many more of this style of dress my wardrobe can take, but I do like the fact that I got to use every single scrap of the fabric. I know that if I have any of those really precious fabrics to me, I've got this pattern in my wheelhouse where I can really make the most of it, which is a lovely thing to be able to do. So this next dress I'm showing you is one of the favourite items I've made last year. this is a hat Park Lane dress that's by Nina Lee, and I made it as a kind of knockoff copy of a yoke dress that I saw. It kept coming up on my Instagram feed and I was like, it's beautiful, I would love it, but I was not prepared to pay that kind of money for a dress, but I knew that I could make something similar. The bodice is very similar to the Park Lane, so I was like, it had the same kind of gathers around the front, that same kind of A-line A-line skirt. I was like, yes, I can do this, I can definitely do this. All I would have to add would be the kind of gathers on the sleeve and collar, and of course the gathered tier on the bottom of the skirt as well. They were all actually really simple hats to make. So if we start with just the bodice, because that is where the biggest difference is really. So the back I cut on the fold, so it has, I don't have the centre back seam there anymore, because I knew that I was going to have this collar and I was going to have this keyhole neckline in the front. With the keyhole neckline, I actually did cut this on the fold as well, and then I used a facing with this kind of V detail in there, which I sewed into and then cut into to turn out and create this. Obviously added the ties there as well. And then with the collar itself, so I used the stand collar that comes with the Nina Lee pattern, and I essentially made it twice as long. I only did one, I only cut one piece of it and then folded over the edge to hem it and inserted that like so. So it's kind of standing up all the way around there. You could do it as a double layer, but this fabric is really thick, and actually the original, if you look closely at the yoke dress, that was actually a single layer too. So I was like, well, if the professionals are doing it like that and charging people lots of money for it, I can do that too. So again, with the sleeve itself, the sleeve I kept the same. It's still got the same kind of puff which the original one does. I've done a bicep adjustment, so this is a little bit bigger than the original would have been. And then I added a kind of cuff piece here and then a gathered section on the end as well. And again, that's just a single layer and hemmed at the edge too. So the cuff here is fully lined on the inside because I think that gives it a really neat finish and closes all the seams on those sides too. I also added in a ties onto the side seam on both sides, just where the waist is, so where the waist seam is. I've managed to make it so that it doesn't interfere too much with the side zip down here, and it just works really well. The tier at the bottom, same as before in terms of what I've done with my previous Park Lane dresses. I'll give you a trial and you can see what that looks like. Move my hair out of the way as well for those of you who need to see. So it is flamboyant and out there. The fabric itself is this kind of hammered satin that I got in Paris quite a few years ago. It was like a super cheap piece I got from Sacre Coupon in the fabric district, and I've been holding onto it for the longest time in order to get something that, in order to make something that I really loved with it. There was no way that I was parting with it, so it was a case of keeping it in the stash until I was ready to use it, and I am glad I did. Have you noticed a theme yet with everything that I've been making? Everything is kind of a loose fit, gathered. I have been doing so many gathering stitches, but I still love it. You would have thought that I would have had enough of it by now, but no, I think just having this kind of loose fit is just so comfy, and with the pandemic and everything, for me comfort is still key more than anything right now. So what I'm wearing right now is the Lyra Dress from Tilly and the Buttons. So this is their shirt dress that was released last year. It's supposed to have like a full collar and everything, but I did not make it with that. And I have kind of hacked the sleeves, got this nice little puff sleeve and a cuff on here, and I've made it quite long and tiered as well. So and I've done the tier in a different place to where the pattern asks for. It's one of those things with the Tilly and the Button patterns. I like the idea, but actually sometimes the little details about it that just don't work for me, and they just always require a little bit of alteration there. So in this case it was things like the depth of the tiers here, where I wanted kind of a shorter one in the middle and a longer one at the end. I got rid of the collar itself because I thought that almost looked a bit too formal. I don't mind a stand collar like this, but I find it myself not wearing collared things as much as I used to. And so I made a note to not put that on here in case it put me off from wearing it. It also didn't help that I was using the lightest, floatiest fabric ever, and I just don't think the stiffness of a collar would have worked very well with it. So this fabric is a Lady McElroy viscose lawn, I think it's described as. It is super soft, super light, and it does feel like it could rip at any moment, I'll be honest. If I got this kind of caught on something, it would just fall apart. But it does feel lovely on. It feels weightless, which is lovely. I saw this fabric, I can't remember, on Instagram or on a fabric shop, and it was like sold out everywhere, so I hunted it down. I rarely do this, by the way, but I loved the green. I loved this white, kind of off-white yet creamy kind of flower with the big yellow centers in there, and I just made sure that I got some. So I ended up getting it from Sherwood's Fabrics last summer, where they still had it in stock. So I'll give you a tour, you can see what this dress looks like. I always feel like people have such mixed views about the telling the busts and patterns nowadays, but I actually really like how this one turned out. But I do only like it because I've made a fair few changes to the pattern itself. Fit wise, it's great. Telling the busts and patterns have always fitted me pretty well. I've never really had any major fit issues with them. You can see where it sits on my shoulder pretty nicely all the way, and if you want to see it done up all the way, I do need to kind of, it does change how it hangs on my shoulders slightly, but you can see how that sits there, and I think it's really cute. I like wearing it layered with a slip over, and I've been able to wear it a few times during the colder weather with some tights and boots. It's quite a cute look, really. So this is another of my favourite makes from last year. This is a Seamwork Campbell jumpsuit, although it doesn't look very much like the original pattern. I had a Seamwork subscription last year. I kept it for a year, had the annual one which basically lets you download everything. So I did that and then I cancelled it, which I think is the right thing to do. This is the jumpsuit that was released, I think, in the middle of last year or so. And the jumpsuit is one which is designed as kind of a relaxed, casual, kind of wear all day kind of thing. It has buttons up the front, kind of a bit of a drop shoulder, and kind of a belt and things as well. I'll show you a picture of it here. I wanted to make a Gucci inspired 70s style jumpsuit. I couldn't be bothered to go find another pattern since I already had the Campbell. I thought I would start with that as my base. But I'll show you what my inspiration picture was though. So that bright green Gucci jumpsuit was from a couple years or so ago, and I'm just like, that is all the vibes that I was looking for right now. I already had the fabric. I bought this chartreuse, that's a hard word to say, chartreuse velvet that I got from the new craft house last summer as well, early last summer. It's got a slight bit, it's cotton with a slight bit of stretch to it. I had initially thought that I would do some sort of cold with it, like a trouser and a jacket, but actually when I got it, I was like, with a stretch like this, a jumpsuit would be a fantastic idea. So the first thing that I needed to alter with the Campbell was the opening here. So the original obviously has it overlapping on the front because that's what buttons need to do, and I wanted a centre front zip. So I had to kind of change and alter all of that, get rid of the overlap here. I now have a facing that runs all the way down the length here, and I have inserted and sandwiched a metal zip in between those layers. I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to recreate it. I think that I was very lucky with how things came together and it worked out beautifully here, but I don't really remember how I got that zip in, but it went in first time and it looks pretty neat, so I'm not complaining at all. The other things that I had to change quite a lot about is, firstly, a lot of it, the general fit. Yeah, well, actually thinking about it, I changed a lot about it. The Campbell is quite a loose fit design. I added darts here, added darts on the front here, added all the pockets in, darts around the back, you can see those here as well. Tuck it in on the side around here. I've taken the shoulder in by quite a lot. The sleeve I kept pretty similar actually, but the rest of it has been changed a lot. This is one of the few things I actually made a toile of before making it in my final fabric. I don't even remember the last time I made a toile. It's been a long time. It was worth doing though, because actually after I had done all my initial changes and then did the mock-up of it, I realised actually how much more I could take out. There was a lot of ease in that original pattern, which I had not quite anticipated for, so I ended up taking even more out on the sides, more out on the waist. I did not do a second toile, I'll be honest. Perhaps I should have done, but it kind of worked out. This is what the kind of, after all the alterations, it looks like, and it fits well. It's not like super snug by any means. It's got a bit of ease to it, which is what you want from a jumpsuit, because you need to be able to move, sit down, and that bit of ease is vital for something like that. I made kind of square pockets to be put on the front, back and the trouser, and on the top up here. The collar I changed to kind of exaggerate the point. So the original collar probably comes up to about here, and it comes a bit further down as well. And I wanted this kind of like really big pointed kind of 70s collar too. So that just required a bit of alteration, just changing the collar shape from the pattern too. So realistically, if you were to look at the pattern, the final pattern pieces that I used for this and compared it to the Campbell pattern, there wouldn't be a huge amount of overlap. There'll be some, but it's not like crazy similar. I like the ability to be able to change it. Would I have bought the Campbell if that was the case in order to make it? Probably not. But it's quite nice to have something like that as a starting point, especially because I already had it printed. So I was like, yes, this is just where I need to start from. It's a really good starting point there. I find that's the case with a lot of Seamwork patterns, is that they are good places to start from. They're quite simple in design, and I think that allows you to do lots of hacking, like what I've done here. So I'm gonna spin around and I'll show you what that looks like all the way around. So I actually made a belt to go with it, which I have misplaced. I didn't like wearing it, so I have basically just left it. I made a kind of elasticated belt with a kind of nurse's buckle on the front, which was a good idea to start off with, but actually it added a lot of bulk here, and I was like, actually I like my waist to be as slim as possible, and the belt wasn't really helping in that matter. So this party dress is the one that I made for my birthday last year. I actually have 2 iterations of this dress already. There's something about this style that I love. It may not be the most flattering on me, but I love it regardless. So this is my take on the Cecilie Bahnsen style dress. This is a Swedish designer who makes these beautiful, floaty, puffy, dreamy dresses, and I've been following her for like the longest time. I've like pinned thousands of her dresses, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try to make something like that. So this I made basically just self-drafting the top part here, which is just designed as like a kind of a band along the kind of breast area, with a little dart on the side here like so, and that's all kind of lined around the top here, and that's meant to be kind of quite snug around the top, and then basically just meters and meters of gathers underneath it. So I treated myself to this fabric, which is a viscose jacquard from Liberty. They had a sale on in the summer and I was like, actually, I fancy some of that for my birthday dress. It's a really simple make, it's a really simple design. Obviously it may not be for everybody, but it is something that I really love. I really love these kind of tiny spaghetti straps all the way around. I had to design it to wear it braless essentially, so I'm not kind of worried about having to wear kind of undergarments underneath. This is what all the lining was for, and it is just fun. It's just meters and meters of fabric all the way around. Hemming is tough, okay, but it's lots and lots of meterage like this. I think it ended up being like 4 widths of the fabric across, so the whole bottom is around 6 meters. Yeah, it's wide and I love it. Underneath this part under here, I added a layer of gathered organza as well, and that is because this is actually quite a heavy fabric. This would have been better off in something a bit lighter or something that had less drape and more body. So that it would stand by itself a bit more. So I added a layer of organza underneath there just to help it kind of stand up a bit more by itself there. It has a bit of an effect, but not a huge amount there. I'm gonna give you a spin and you can see what it looks like, see how much volume I get when I spin in it too. It really is a lot of fun to wear. So it's like a real cupcake dress, you know, it just feels frothy and fun, and that's exactly what I wanted for a birthday dress. So the only downside to this dress was that I had 2 conflicting images that I was using as my inspiration. One which had quite a short middle tier and one which had a longer section, and then I think I got a bit confused between the two and I ended up making something which had the middle tier be somewhere in the middle. So I'm not 100% behind the proportions I got from here. I think that if I have the time in the future, I'm going to take out a chunk of this middle bit here so that this is more like here, because I think that that would be a cuter look and a cuter dress. I actually did manage to do that with the next version that I made of it, which I'll show you now. So this is the same bodice, same straps, shorter tier to this part, which is more where I thought I was going to go with the other one, and then a very long one below that. This is a gingham fabric, a gingham seersucker that I got from Stop and Still a fair while ago. I think pre-COVID maybe? Something like that. It's like a couple years old. It's a really beautiful fabric. I had been waiting for the right project for it. I had initially planned to do some sort of blouse with a frilled collar, but then I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to wear it. I really wanted to make something with this fabric that I would really love and enjoy, and this is definitely it. This dress, for whatever reason, brings me a lot of joy as well, much like with that pink version too. This is obviously much more wearable for day to day. I think this is going to be a really useful dress for me in the summer. I've already taken it on holiday with me, and I think once the warmer weather hits, I'm going to really love it. I've been able to wear it through the winter, layered over polo necks and worn with tights and boots. So it's surprisingly versatile. I think the neutral colours help a lot with that too. Again, I'll give you a little tour and you can see how differently this might sit on me. So a lot less volume on the skirt, of course, but that does make it a lot more wearable. So the next thing I'm showing you is this skirt. Now this is a free pattern. This is the Sabina skirt from the Little Pomegranate. It's an elasticated waist skirt with pockets, which I will find in just a moment. Pockets, and a little frill at the bottom as well. I've made mine in quite a sheer chiffon, so I added a lining to it as well. So you can see I've got a short lining underneath this too. It's a really nice, simple pattern with really great instructions. I can only recommend that you go and download it and try it out for yourself too. The fabric I got from So Anonymous, it was a remnant piece of this navy star chiffon fabric, which I thought was just really pretty. and I thought this would be a really good pairing for this skirt, for something that's actually going to be just quite a useful item. It is really comfy, of course. It's an elasticated waist skirt. I think you can make it look really quite chic depending on what kind of fabrics you use. Obviously things that are quite soft, quite drapey work really well for something like this too. Always be aware that with elasticated waist, it will add that little bit more bulk around your waist. So I don't know if you can tell here, kind of a bit more bulky in this area. I've had to make kind of 2 layers where the elastic is as well because of that lining layer. So I've lined it underneath here and used the lining for the pockets itself, but I also had to line the fabric over the waistband too, otherwise you would just see the elastic underneath it. Looks cute though, right? I really like it. Not super my style, but I can see how I can wear it and incorporate it into kind of day-to-day looks. It's really cute with boots. It's just quite a fun piece there. So this is a very recent loungewear set that I made. It is one that I basically live in. This is what I change into when I want to be comfortable and lounge about at home. It's a combination of 2 different patterns. The shorts come from the Common Stitch Pipit loungewear pattern. I've managed to get the shorts to just fit me well. It's a nice high-waisted pattern which I really like, and nice and flared. It's just super comfortable. And then the sweater is the Milo cardigan from Seamwork, not to be confused with the True Bias Milo cardigan, which looks very similar. I do wonder what kind of conversations each of those teams had behind closed doors about the naming of those patterns and the release times, etc. Anyway, the Milo that I've made here is slightly different to the original pattern. The original is a little bit more fitted. It still has the same kind of drop shoulder shape, but it goes in, it's meant to be just a little bit more fitted at the waist, and I've just basically straightened out all those size seams to make it a bit boxier, which is a little bit more in keeping with what I wanted here. The fabric is a dream. It's like one of my favourite fabrics that I've used in a really long time. It's this kind of viscose mix waffle knit that I got from myfabrics.co.uk. I had been a bit hesitant about purchasing from them in the last couple of years with Brexit, everything happening. They were already renowned for having really slow lead times with their deliveries, etc. prior to all of this, and I was just a bit like, if I order it, is it going to be like a month before I see it? But actually, I was very pleasantly surprised. It all came super swiftly. Had it within, I think, a week or so, and literally started cutting into it very quickly afterwards. It is like really soft, really fluffy on the inside. If they still have it in stock, I'll link to it down below. It's just so comfortable. Like, this can be pajamas. Yeah, it's definitely secret pajamas if I ever wear it out. I've worn the shorts out by themselves on holiday because that's what you do. And I've obviously worn the cardigan out by itself just because it's a normal thing to wear out. Together, probably not. Together, they are very much pajamas. It makes a big difference, doesn't it? Once you get into matching sets, everything starts to look a little bit more like pajamas. So the shorts I've actually made a bunch of times now. So I've made a few versions of the Pipit loungewear, like the full set as pajamas. And I think these are going to be like my go-to shorts patterns going forward. It fits well, it's really quick to make. It's just elastic sewn directly into the top of it. So now that I've got that kind of technique down, it's, you know, an hour or two to make them super quick for me. It's always nice to have that kind of go-to pattern when you know you want to kind of whip something out. So it's something that I might use more come the summer to make like some quick shorts and things like that. So this is the Anthea Blouse from Anna Allen Clothing. It was one that really made the rounds last year. I think everybody I know has made one. It's a really kind of simple shirt pattern. It's got quite narrow shoulders, it's a loose fit through the bodice, no darts here, and no collar as well, so it just buttons up right up to the neck, and the neck's just finished with some bias binding here, and it's got this fabulous puffed sleeve here too. Now, I showed you another version that I made of it in my last knitting video, and you can see the difference between the two. I'll show a quick picture of my white one here. I'm not going to try that on for you as well, and the one that I'm wearing at the moment. So these are the same pattern, same sizing, just completely different fabrics. So the white I made in this tinsel twill, which really is quite a stiff fabric, and it really kind of created this really big puffed exaggerated sleeve. And you can see in what I'm wearing right now, which is in an art gallery rayon fabric that I got from Like So Amazing. And you can see how much softer that looks in appearance. It does wrinkle a lot more, but it is that little bit more comfortable because it is that drape, has that drape, and it's that little bit softer and kinder to the skin. Kind of spelling out the right word. It just feels more comfortable. It's softer, that's all. So I really like it. The narrow shoulders work for me. I don't know how this will sit if you are naturally more broad-shouldered, but I naturally have narrow shoulders, so this sits kind of where I would expect a good shirt to fit. Obviously, if you have wider shoulders, you are going to find that this sits very in comparison. It is a design feature. I think it is meant to be like that. It's worth you having a look on social media for other iterations of it though, if you're not quite sure how it's going to fit on you. I'm going to give you a pull and you can see what that looks like. So my pattern matching down the front is a complete and utter fluke. I was kind of thinking about trying to pattern match, and then I was like, is it worth it? So I just decided to cut into it. I made it as kind of as straight and everything as I could do with the pattern wise, and it kind of just fell into place. I've ended up with this row of the print going down the middle, which kind of matched up almost perfectly with the other side. I don't know how it happened. The sewing gods were very kind to me when I was making this. So this is the Celeste Blouse from Selkie Patterns. I made this as part of a competition last year to win a Husqvarna embroidery machine. I didn't win, it was sad. I really wanted that machine. But it doesn't matter, I got a beautiful blouse out of it. So the Selkie blouse comes with lots of different options. It comes as a dress, comes as a blouse. There are a multitude of different sleeve options. You've got this big collar on there. I decided to kind of change things up even more and add more frills and lots of details to this, because why not, right? The collar itself is kind of the same at the front, but I extended the width of it towards the back to make it a wider collar, because otherwise it narrowed a bit, and then added on this frill all the way around. The sleeve, I don't even know what you call this kind of sleeve, with this big poofy. It's the first time I've ever sewn anything like it, and I've got this extra frill around the top here. They've got a sample which has this hack on, and I got that from there. And then of course on the front I've got this big heart detail on here too. I just thought it was a bit of fun. I think I'd seen something similar to it on some sort of social media advert for some trendy brand, and I figured why not. For this I had created essentially a big tube of fabric, which I ran some gathering stitches all the way down the middle of, and then top stitched it into place. It's purely decorative, it's not doing anything functional, but it's a bit of fun. So yeah, the back of it as well, I added a ribbon instead of the hook and eye closure that you're supposed to use. I hate those kind of closures, they catch in my hair, it's very uncomfortable. The bow I thought was a bit cutesy, a bit more fun, and eliminated the problem of tangling around the back there. The fabric is this fun turquoise plaid that I got from Sew Me Sunshine. I think I got it last year, was it the year before? No, I think it was last summer. I had planned on using it to do some sort of pattern clashing thing with other bits, and it just never happened. Deep in my heart, I know that I would like a pattern clash item. If I saw it in the shops, I would probably buy it, but I find it really hard to actually do that myself. for some reason. Like, I can't put those things together. It goes against all my instincts to put mismatching fabrics together. It's the weirdest thing. I'll get over it one day, I hope, but until then it'll be single fabrics only. So the last thing to share with you is this coat. This coat is the traveller coat from Bella Loves Patterns. I got it in a sale she had maybe about early last year or so. I really love the design. I like this kind of drop shoulder thing that she had, kind of relaxed fits. It is a long coat and it comes in different size ranges, different height ranges. It obviously comes in different sizes too. So I thought it would be fun to see how that would all play out. She has a proper tailoring background. If you follow her on Instagram, you'll see she really knows her stuff. So I thought this would be a really good project to get into some more tailoring techniques and to learn a bit more about it. I did take a really long time making it. I really wanted to make this as kind of perfect as I could. So the whole outer fabric, pretty much on the main body of the coat, is all completely interfaced. There's stay tape and bias tape in so many places around here. Pretty much all the seams got some sort of treatment on there. To add some extra warmth, I also added a layer of Damet. Is a kind of almost like a thinsulate type lining that I got from William G as well. And then of course it's also fully lined too. So lots of layers going into this outfit, into this garment. So it did take a long time. It was a project. I think it was successful. I don't think I've done it as well as I could have. I was getting quite impatient by the end of it. I was like, oh, this is a really long process. There are lots of things I really love about it. I love the kind of collar shape. I love her instructions for doing the vent on the back. There's just lots and lots of good things about this. I got this fabric a while ago. This is from Fabworks Mills. It came with the lining as well, so it actually came as a bundle together, and I'd been planning to make a variety of different coats with it over the years. It was originally going to be a Romana coat from By Hand London, then it was going to be a DP Studio coat, and it just kept changing and I was like, actually, I think this is finally the one. The fabric doesn't come with all these little gems on it. I put those on myself. I think I've already lost a couple. I did not sew them on particularly well. I was a bit iffy as to whether I would like them or not, so I kind of initially just kind of tacked them on, and I don't think I ever got around to sewing all of them on as thoroughly as I should have done. So I love how the pockets are. That belt pocket looks great. It's got a big tie around the top. I'll show you what it looks like done up as well. It's like super smart. It's surprisingly warm. I don't know why I'm surprised. It should be warm. And I do like how it looks. It's probably a bit formal for what I need in my day-to-day life, so it's not had as much wear as I would have liked, but I do really love it. So I hope you enjoyed that little peek inside what I've been sewing in the last 6 months. Hopefully there's going to be a fair bit more sewing to come, and I'll have more to share with you guys in the future. Bye now.